manager, it might feel natural to you to be the one who hands out work to each team member. It makes sense to have the designer take on design-related tasks, right? It feels like the most intuitive approach to take. Each person on the team has specific expertise, so they should do what they do best. Besides, you're the one responsible for the outcome. It's only natural to assign each card on your to-do list to whoever has the best qualification to do the work. I've been there myself. Now, let's say that you assign the designer on your team to the card on the top of your to-do list, the highest priority work from a business perspective, but it turns out that she's already working on another project. Now you've hit a roadblock. If this person is the only one who can take care of the work, and it's the most important work right now, the team will start skipping that task and move on to what's being assigned to each and every one of them individually. At some point, you end up in a situation where the priority of your work is defined by the availability of your team members instead of its business value. Your team will be busy working on low priority tasks while the most important thing is sitting and waiting in your backlog. What if, instead of assigning cards to each individual, you switch your perspective and give them the authority to make a decision on their own about who should be doing what? What if instead you enable your team to self-organize around the work so they could decide on their own how to divide and assign the work? Here is the thing. As a manager, you should indeed be the one in control. But that doesn't mean you have to control the workers. Instead, you are shifting gears in how you control the flow of work. You have to stop assigning individuals to the cards on your to-do list to achieve that goal. Instead, you have to leave them without assignees and let the team assign themselves to the cards at the moment they initiate the work. What happens next is that, ideally, the first available person picks up the top card on your to-do list. And yes, this applies to specialized teams as well, not only cross-functional teams. But Sonia, what if not everyone in my team is capable of doing the work? What if they're capable of getting it done, but they're actually not willing to? Well, great question. And you kind of answered it. These are all opportunities for improvement this approach revealed. If you end up in any of these situations, then you take action to overcome these objections before moving forward. Remember, progress means taking one step at a time. As one small win leads to another, you are effectively building a culture of continuous improvement. Regardless, it is the team who makes that decision. It's a simple switch in practice, but a profound switch in perspective. Instead of them waiting for you to push a decision onto them, they now have autonomy to take ownership of the work. It puts them from a passive position, here is your assignment, into the driver's seat. I'm initiating this work item and I will make sure we as a team will deliver on time. This strategy is so powerful because it removes the internal dependencies caused by assigning specific people to each card. And as a result, your most important work won't wait on your to-do list, which ultimately leads to faster delivery times. At first, though, it may feel like a leap of faith to let your team members take charge of assigning the work themselves instead of you doing this. To make sure they're moving in the same direction, you have to set up a decision-making system that will suit as a guideline on how to handle different situations. In Kanban, we enable that system by setting explicit process policies. Think about which items should be pulled into the system first, how items with different priorities move through the system, what happens when an item gets blocked, what happens when a defect occurs, what should be happening in each and every situation. The answers to these questions become your explicit process policies. Once you set this system up, you will quickly discover that your team members collectively will be able to manage the work effectively on their own, following the rules. The way I see it, it's a beautiful solution, not only because it's so effective, but also because it's less stressful, it's much more meaningful for both you and everyone on your team. And remember, as a manager, you're not losing control or letting go of responsibility when you let your team assign their own work. It's just a shift in a perspective. You're still in control. It's just that instead of controlling people, you are controlling the process. You are in control of the explicit process policies, the decision-making framework, and ultimately the business outcomes.